What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. Today we are taking a look at the Carolina Hurricanes pending free agent Mikko Rantanen. We've continued to hear a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, the fallout with Mikko and the Colorado Avalanche, and potentially what could be happening with Rantanen going into the summer. So there's a lot that kind of happened in the fallout with Mikko Rantanen and the Colorado Avalanche. And, according to Pierre LeBrun, he said if Mikko Rantanen gets to the free agent market, he will likely be asking for over $14 million on his annual average salary. And with the inflation of the NHL cap potentially going up to $9 million for each team next year, things are going to change in the market a lot. We know that Mitch Marner's contract will be coming up. I'll be posting a video about that later this week. A lot of talk about Mitch, what could be going on there. A lot of talk going on here with Rantanen. So there's a lot of kind of things to look at with Rantanen, and the fact that he was willing to take a discount to stay in Colorado, that would have been nice. But I think there's also the internal cap with Nathan MacKinnon's. I think it's 12 or 12.5 million that Colorado just wasn't willing to go over that. And they are seemingly willing to do that with Cale Makar, but they weren't willing to do that with Mikko Rantanen. So it's one of those things. I think he's disappointed that things kind of fell apart there with Colorado. He really didn't even see it coming fully. And like I said, that's why I think the development of that Rantanen trade happened so quick. I don't even think Rantanen fully knew what was happening before that deal. So now that things are kind of coming to light, we're hearing more information about the deal. It does make a lot more sense. Like Mikko really didn't know that much more than we did. And things developed quite quickly there. And like I said, the internal cap of 12.6 million was too far off, which we've kind of talked about that with the MacKinnon situation. It does make some sense there. And if he does end up getting like 14 million on the open market, God bless him. That would be really interesting to see what teams would be in play there, because you do wonder, like, could Buffalo be looking at that? What other teams would be kind of in that conversation? Because I think when we talk about a guy like Mikko Rantanen, Colorado loves him, right? Like, there's a guy, he's a goal scorer. He's going to score a ton of goals for your team. And if Carolina doesn't get it done, which, in all honesty, I don't even think they're really worried about that. Like, I fully think they are going all in to win a Stanley Cup this year. And yeah, it might have meant they lost Natchez, and it might mean they lost, the picks and things like that. But the reality is, for what they gave up, and the fact it wasn't an immediate sign-in trade, there's always the possibility that it just doesn't end up materializing. And at this point, if I'm Rantanen and his agent, I'm thinking, at the very least, listen, we've gone this far. Like, let's just see how we do in the playoffs. If he does really well with Carolina, goes on a run, has a really good playoff run, that $14 million looks a lot more stomachable for a team in free agency. So why is he going to cash in his chips now? He's already waited this long. He's going to wait and see what's out there, probably. And you can't really blame him for that, right? I think Carolina knows that. If they win a Stanley Cup and he leaves, I think they're going to give him all the love in the world, the most edible arrangements you possibly can give him, right? It's not going to matter at that point, because the Hurricanes have a cup ring on their finger. They're not going to care what happens to Mikko Rantanen after this season. It sucks if they lose him, but you could stomach it a lot easier when Brendan Moore's lifting the cup over his shoulders, right? So I think for Carolina, they understand the circumstance here. I think Mikko Rantanen and his agent are going to do their due diligence to get as close to that $14 million. Now, I'm not saying that's going to end up being the contract that he gets, but with the $9 million going to each team this offseason for the salary bump, it's definitely something to look at. And I do think the NHL is at a point here where we're going to start seeing these mega $14, $15 million contracts per season coming into the fold. Because I think the NHL understands that the disparity between the NHL and like MLB or NBA or NFL, the contract situation for the NHL is so much less. These players make so much less than their counterpart professional sports. And the NHL, I think, wants to be at least a little bit more competitive than it's been. And they are making progress toward that with kind of raising the salary cap like they are this season. That's going to be huge. And I think, like I said, this is great for the players. They're going to make some more money. But it is going to make contracts seem kind of weird. And what's funny is MacKinnon's contract, again, came at kind of a bad time. The last contract he had was a sweetheart contract. And the way things are kind of falling right now, his contract right now at 12.6 almost seems like in another 2 or 3 years, halfway through that contract, it's going to be another sweetheart contract for the Colorado Avalanche. It seems like one of those things. Nathan MacKinnon just can't seem to win on that front. But I digress. Nonetheless, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you guys think of this whole Rantanen situation? Because I think Rantanen is definitely a player a lot of teams are going to be vying for if he hits the open market this summer. The salary situation for a lot of these teams might change between now and the deadline, hoping to free up cap space, knowing that Mikko Rantanen could be available. And that's when I think about teams like, the New York Islanders are kind of an interesting one. Obviously, because I am an Islander fan, obviously that draws my interest. But I do wonder, if the Islanders were to move out Brock Nelson, Kyle Palmieri, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, those types of players, that frees up some cap space for them, plus the $9 million cap, extension this summer. Does that give the Islanders room to add a guy like Mikko Rantanen in free agency? And, the Vancouver Canucks, if they move out Elias Pettersson, depending on what they get back in return for Petey, that could free them up of some cap space. Same thing with JT Miller moving out. That could free up the Canucks, and maybe the Canucks look at a guy like Mikko Rantanen in the free agency market. It's going to be interesting to see how teams go into the deadline, because I think right now a lot of teams see themselves as buyers at the deadline. But then they start getting these offers from some teams, like the Canucks are right now for Elias Pettersson, because there's not a lot of teams selling. The teams that are going to sell at this deadline are going to win, and win big, because there isn't that much competition. There aren't a ton of teams selling, all trying to sell off similar parts. There's very few players that are available at the top, and then it's kind of just whatever's left in the rest of the rung. And we kind of saw that with Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall's value at a third-round pick, only to get that retained salary for Chicago. That's kind of the only reason Carolina took Taylor Hall, was because they wanted to move the salary. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of these teams kind of move forward through the rest of this deadline. I'm really looking forward to it. Like I said, March 7th, it's going to be a Friday. I'm going to be off from work that day. I'm really excited to do that trade deadline coverage. And stay tuned to the channel. Like I said, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You got the notification bell on. You're checking out our community tab, because we'll be posting some stuff as trades come through, things like that. I'll keep you guys all updated as much as I can. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys again next time. Peace out, guys.